This weekend at Oulton Park, there's a whole day dedicated to Caterham Motorsport. The picturesque Cheshire circuit hosts the latest rounds, and this weekend every category of Caterham is in attendance, ranging from the novice academy drivers in their first season of racing, right up to the stalwart drivers of the Superlights. It promises to be an action-packed day of racing. The cars making their way to the grid for our second Caterham Supersport race of the day. Pole position then, Jack Brown, now 4 times a race winner this year. Henry Heaton is the man who will line up with him at the front of the grid. These are 1600cc cars. They have the capability for 140 brake horsepower. They're on a special track suspension, Avon rubber, and they're ready to go. Andre Sinclair here starting on the outside of the second row of the grid. The drivers now look towards the lights, which blink red. It's blast off. Who makes the best getaway? Jack Brown's green car from pole leads the way. Down to Old Hall corner. He's able to move across and defend and then swing through to take the line. Down the avenue they go for the first time. Is everybody going to get safely through the corner? So far, so good as they head down towards Cascades for the first time. A good getaway then made by Jack Brown. He leads the way, but everybody else stacked up behind. There's going to be a huge amount of shuffling. Caterhams, of course, with their very nature through the shape, can easily overtake one another. And even though Oulton Park is not the widest of circuits, they're good narrow cars, these. Down towards Island Bend for the first time they come, on board with Andre Sinclair. He's up into third place here. Goes down a gear, turns into the banked right-hander of Shell Oils, and then on the power now, sprinting up towards Britain's. No windscreen, just that little bit of perspex in the driver's eye line to flick the air over the top of the car. Hard on the brakes, left, right, left through the chicane, over hill top, and then the run down towards the Hislop chicane and Knickerbrook corner. The race leader, somehow still, is Jack Brown, but he has got right on his tail now, pushing hard, Henry Heaton. But you can see just how full a field this is. 31 cars took the start. Caterham Racing is in fine health here. The leaders climb up Clay Hill. It's a great driver circuit, Oulton Park. There's lots of challenges for the drivers, and it's Cheshire picturesque setting, very popular with the fans as well. Replay of the start, on board with Sinclair. Lights out, lets out the clutch, blasts away, grabs second gear. Hooks third. Fourth, down towards Old Hall. Where can Sinclair get himself to before the end? It's Tuck leading in second spot as they break now for Hislop's is Will Smith. And there's a long, long line of cars, including 22 Mike Evans. The cars sprint their way uphill. Evans right onto the back now of Tim Dickens. They're fighting for, 6th and 7th places as the leader is about to burst back into view, and the leaders are side by side. Tuck versus Smith. Andre Sinclair could be in the ideal position here. If it all goes wrong ahead of him, he's going to be there, ready and able to pounce as down they come towards Lodge Corner. Last lap, last corner, Ben Tuck on target for a maiden win, possibly, although not if Will Smith has a say in it, because Smith goes round the outside of him. There's just about room for 2 cars side by side, and then the inside line is Smith, so he's going to hit the front as they come to the line. Will Smith wins by 72 thousandths of a second. Ben Tuck second, and Andre Sinclair is third. And Ben Tuck so near, and yet so far denied right on the line. So Will Smith takes the win just ahead of Ben Tuck. Andre Sinclair third from Christian Charuta. Race 1 winner Jack Brown is 5th ahead of Tim Dickens, with Mike Evans right on his tail. So Will Smith makes it 9 race wins in this year's championship and increases his lead over Jack Brown. Henry Heaton is still in touch in 3rd. Christian Charuta is in 4th ahead of Max McDonough and then Chris Hutchinson. The fastest cars you'll find in Caterham Motorsport's extensive portfolio are those in the Superlight R300 Championship. Tax advisor Jack Sales, the man on pole position. This is 30 minutes of racing. It's blast off. Who makes the best start on the run down towards Old Hall corner? Let's see as the cars sprint away. 70-80 it is. Danny Winstanley, the local man, leads as they work their way through Old Hall corner. And on board here with Aaron Head running out wide. Head third on the grid. Again, it's not a great start, but he lets everybody else do the jockeying earlier on, and then he picks his way up the order. Two on the grass and one heading for the barriers as well. Clattering its way into the guardrail. James Ashworth, I'm afraid, doing some damage on the run down the hill for the first time. He should be able to get away with that despite the bodywork ripped off the car. Somebody else trying to make progress lower down, number 10, Simon Cassidy. Entries growing once more in this championship, which is really encouraging. Aaron Head, though, has got a bit of work to do to work his way through to the front, as Clive Richards in 85 tries to swoop round the outside there to gain ground. Tom Eden, though, in the yellow car, did his best to fend him off, couldn't quite do it, has to slot in behind as they turn now up through Britons. Replay of the start on board with Head. Was that a bit of a creep from Winstanley, or was it just a very good start by Winstanley? Well, certainly he was well clear of Jack Sales as they jumped away down towards Old Hall. Sales then losing ground as they turn their way through that right-hander, and Head also losing out as up the inside of him goes number 16, Philip Gladman. Into the braking zone they come. Big lock up there from Nuttall, and that compromises the effort against Jack Sales. It means now that Lee Wiggins and Philip Gladman in the blue car are right there behind. Leaders come through over the line once more. Down towards Old Hall corner. Winstanley just keeping his nose in front. At the moment, you might put some money on Jack Sales. If it all kicks off in front of him, Sales is the man in the pound seats, isn't he, to pick up the pieces. Through Denton's then, into Cascades. 30-minute race, clock ticking down. Head on the limit, drifting the car through the corner, up onto the curb, back into the wheel tracks of Danny Winstanley, looking for a way through, tries the outside line, down towards Island Bend, and what makes life harder for Head now is that he's got to attack and defend at the same time because Sales is right up behind him. Through they turn, out of Shell, up now towards Britons, and Aaron Head runs wide and gets a wheel onto the dirt. That is not what he needs to do because straight away it loses him a length against the race leader. Sales crawling all over the back of him now as they head down towards Hislops once more. So Danny Winstanley, race leader, trying to get away. Aaron Head tucked up behind him. It's really 6 for the lead though, because if anybody makes a mistake out of this leading sextet, it can all shuffle around. Winstanley though, perhaps blocking out what's going on behind him and trying to concentrate on his own race. He is being, at the moment, immovable. No matter what is thrown at him by Aaron Head, all the pressure of the pack behind, he's not for cracking. Now, does that jinx him? Let's see. Up towards Druids they come. Head to the outside. Sales tries to get up the inside of him. Nuttall is there as well, so the leading 4 as 1. Wiggins just not being able to work his way through the traffic as they come now over the timing line. Checkered flag is waved, and it's a win just for Danny Winstanley. 68 thousandths of a second is the winning margin. Danny Winstanley wins. Aaron Head is second. Jack Sales rounds out the top 3 ahead of Stephen Nuttall, Lee Wiggins and Philip Gladman. What a race yet again. Plenty of drama, but a great drive by Danny Winstanley to keep people stacked up behind for as many laps as he did, for as long as he did. That's a really good job done. More of them head towards the timing line as through goes Jeremy Ellis, Paul Thacker through, and behind him is Chris Wright. Race result confirms the win for Danny Winstanley ahead of Aaron Head, then Jack Sales third from Stephen Nuttall, Lee Wiggins and Philip Gladman, with Clive Richards and Ollie Bull, regular front runners, down in only 7th and 8th places. There was a second race for the R300s as well before the end of the day. Grid based on the race 1 result, and as the lights went out, Aaron Head from second on the grid again made a pretty sluggish start. It was Stephen Nuttall who hit the front, and he led down towards Old Hall corner ahead of Winstanley, with Head trying to slot into 3rd place. There was drama though on the opening lap. Paul Thacker making contact with the car of Justin Armstrong, and off they both went, clattering into the barriers. There was a red flag and a restart. It was a slightly smaller grid, but Danny Winstanley was keen to try to convert it into the race lead nonetheless, as 2 rather grumpy drivers trudged away. As the lights did go out, Winstanley charged away, and guess what Aaron Head did? Yep, went backwards. They all came flooding past him on the run down towards Old Hall, so Head had the work to do once more, as he had to try and pick his way through the traffic. That enabled Winstanley to build the advantage up front. It wasn't much of an advantage though, because Jack Sales was staying with him. and Winstanley was never really able to get away by more than a tenth of a second. But a double victory looked to be going his way, even allowing for the fact that Aaron Head arrived on his tail and tried the outside line at the last corner of the last lap. But Winstanley was on for a double. 2 out of 2 at Oulton Park for Danny Winstanley, with Aaron Head in second place and Jack Sayles coming through for third. In the championship, Aaron Head now with an advantage over Lee Wiggins, Jack Sayles third, ahead of Clive Richards, who's now tied on points with Stephen Nuttall. Danny Winstanley, the man who rounds out the top 6. It has been a great day with a double win for Danny Winstanley.